Hello, friend. Thanks for pressing play on this episode of the Brassy broadcast. Now, if you listen regularly, you know that isn't the usual show intro music. More on that in just a sec. If this is your first time here, welcome. Let me introduce myself. I'm Jen Eads. I'm a musician, a student of the creative universe, and a curious girl full of questions. I'm also the head broad in charge at the Brassy Broadcasting Company, where I partner with good people of all kinds to put them in the ears, heads, and hearts of new audiences with all kinds of podcast and other audio content. What's other audio content, you ask? Well, it can be lots of things, like repurposing speeches and presentations, or it could be your on-hold music and messaging. Did you know there is no law stating that being on hold has to be a totally awful experience? You might want to pass that on to your cable company next time you have to give them a call. Instagram is my jam lately, and I'm having lots of fun with the filters and the stories and sharing some behind-the-scenes stuff into my music and podcasting adventures. You can find me over there at Brassy Broad Jen. Let's hang out. Now let's get into the fun stuff. That super rad music you heard at the top of the show is from my incredibly talented guest, Jetty Rae. Her latest album, Can't Curse the Free, has such a sonically cool vibe and texture. You just want to put on headphones and wrap yourself up in it. These songs have space and breathing room, and it's just so refreshing. That's my word for this album. Refreshing. Refreshing is also how I would describe our conversation. What the heck do I mean by that? Well, for starters, Jetty Rae is the first guest I've had on the show that lives in a renovated 1979 Airstream with her family. I have dreams of traveling the country and visiting every national park, and of course, podcasting about it. So it was inspiring to hear about her traveling adventures and what her experience has been as a musician with limited space. A few of the key takeaways that you're going to want to listen out for will be how to use Instagram hashtags more effectively, setting money goals for crowdfunding campaigns, and most importantly, the power of intention. Enjoy my conversation with Jetty Rae. Jetty Rae, welcome to the Brassy broadcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm super excited to have a fellow Midwesterner on the show.
I love it. We got to stick together.
Exactly. But not only are you a Midwesterner, because as I was doing my research around the interwebs, I found out that you've traveled the world already and kind of started that at a young age. So I'm curious, what musical or what influences outside of music have impacted your style or your voice?
Ooh, that's for me, that's a super deep, heavy question right away. Yeah.
We're just going to jump into the heavy stuff.
Yeah. Okay. I'm all about that. I'm all about being real. Well, honestly, what kickstarted my writing and this career was losing my grandpa.
Mm-hmm.
He died when I was 19, and I grew up really close to my family and my grandparents, and I started processing some of my grief through songwriting. And my grandpa used to play the guitar and write, and I would say if I had to name an external force in my inspiration, it would be grief and sorrow and questioning. And it definitely is, those factors definitely motivate and fuel my creativity pretty much 24/7. That's just how I deal with life. And I've gone through a lot of life.
Mm-hmm. Life has a lot of impact on what we write, I think.
It does. And also, with the traveling. So yeah, I did travel, I'd been to China, and that like, oh, that was crazy. That opened up my eyes when, I was 18, 19 over there. I spent my 19th birthday in China.
Was that just like a
And
complete culture shock?
it was. I had never experienced, I mean, I feel like in America, usually we just don't experience being the minority. We don't
Mm-hmm.
know what that feels like.
Right.
Um, Especially like, the way that we look. We're all, but in China, I went with a group, a performing arts group, and we stood out, and we actually went to some very remote places that had never seen like Americans before. So they
Really?
were, yeah, they were taking pictures of us. They were very impressed with the blonde haired Americans, people that we were with.
Uh-huh.
And yeah, that definitely informed a lot of my writing, just like experiencing, different surroundings, different meeting different people. And now, I travel pretty much 24/7. I'm on the road um all the time, and the different settings inform my music. Right now I'm somewhere in northern Georgia, and it's incredibly quiet, and I can just hear the birds, and it's like kind of freaking me out a little bit. I'm like, really, I can really hear my own thoughts.
Well, and so I recently been turned on to The Minimalist and
Mm,
watch their Netflix documentary. I catch their podcast sometimes. And so you and your family live in an Airstream, right?
yes, we live in renovated 1979 Airstream Excella. It's 31 feet long, and yeah, we are tiny house people.
How does that how does that impact or influence your creativity and your writing? Like, do you feel like you have time and space to do that, or how's that affected you?
I would say the time and space thing, yes, but it's incredibly different than when we lived in a house. When we lived in a house, there were many different rooms that I could shut myself in and flesh out ideas, and be by myself, because writing for me is a very personal thing, and a private thing. I really like to kind of just be alone before I share even a little bit,
Mhm.
even with my husband. So it looks way more intentional, and I would say a little more like professional. Like I have to like really like schedule in writing, and especially like co-writes and stuff. Like I find that I have to go into a studio or into a church or whatever an open space is that I can kind of get away from my house
Uh-huh.
and have some space to do it. So it just has to be so much more intentional for me. And I find that I do a lot of my writing like as soon as I get in the car and I'm by myself and I'm driving to like the grocery store or something. I'll just start humming, and something will come, and I'll be like, okay, this is it. I'm just going to record it into my phone, and I'll just kind of save it for later when I have a chance to tackle it. So it just looks very different than it used to, but I'm learning how to make it work and kind of push through that.
How long have you guys been doing the Airstream thing?
So in May, it'll be a year.
How's it going?
It's been a very rough year. It hasn't been what we thought it would be. We were kind of like in and out of it. So basically, we moved in May, and my dad got diagnosed with stage 4
Oh
cancer
my gosh.
August 1st. Yeah. And um, so, that's kind of what I was talking about. Life just happened. So we were kind of Airbnb and staying with family while we were wanting to be close to my parents during his treatment, and just spending lots of time with him and with my family. So we were kind of in and out of it, and really got back in the end of February. So it's just been completely different than we thought, but it's been very very freeing and healing to be like back on the road and moving. There's definitely something in both of our DNA, my husband and I, that we just love going to new places, and we love that change.
Mhm.
It's exciting. It's exciting to us. So,
Do you feel like you write different types of songs in different locations?
oh yeah, definitely. I'm sure here being in this peaceful surrounding, it would be a little bit more just like, I don't know, internalized, calm. If I was in the mountains, I would probably, maybe it'd be a little bit more aggressive. I don't know.
Uh-huh.
It definitely does inform, even just the imagery, because I'm a freak about metaphors and similes.
Uh-huh.
I love painting pictures with and that's kind of how I write. I always use the natural to explain the spiritual or the internal
Mhm.
and the emotional. So it definitely, I think, makes me a better songwriter, just to have more colors in my kit, so to speak.
So let's talk a little bit about how you've grown your audience, because that's one of the things that we like to explore here on the podcast is how we're broadcasting and what messages we're getting out and how we're building audiences and community and all of that kind of stuff. How important has YouTube been for you in that arena?
Ooh, YouTube has been very important. I would say I put a lot of eggs in the YouTube basket. The beginning of my career, with like my second album, I shot a music video. It was my first one, and that had a huge impact on people following my career and being interested in what I was doing. Just having like that professional content out there that people could share.
Mhm.
Um, I find that that's the big thing with YouTube is like, if people like your songs, great. But if you have a video that goes with it, it gets out there so much quicker. And, we're an audio visual society. We like to see things as we're hearing them.
Oh yeah.
And so yeah, YouTube has been amazing. I've got lots of music videos that I've invested a lot of money in putting high quality content on there. And then I did a Indiegogo campaign a couple years ago, and with that, a part of the rewards were video covers, and those ended up being really cool because I got a lot of people who weren't Jetty Rae fans, but they liked the song. Say
Uh-huh.
they Googled, first aid kit, and my song came up, or Hallelujah, Leonard Cohen's Hallelujah.
Yeah.
Like a million people have that up there, but just covers are ways that you can find new fans for sure.
How long were you consistently putting content out there before you felt like you were starting to gain some traction and build your audience?
Um, let's see. Well, I feel like I was gaining between my second album and then my fourth album. I did a DIY music video, which had pretty good response, and then um, I don't know. I'd say a couple years, and now I haven't put anything out for this new project, but I'm really excited to put something up on YouTube for that. That's definitely like something that is at the top of my list to do. Yeah, I'd say a couple years. It took some time to get some traction there.
Yeah. What are some other ways that you've been able to grow your audience outside of YouTube videos?
For a while, we did the whole Facebook thing.
Mhm.
We thought advertising on Facebook and trying to get people to like your page and all of that. And then that ended up, I grew my fan page by quite a bit, but I ended up with a lot of people on there who weren't really engaged with me and what I was doing. So we kind of quit focusing on the Facebook, and now we're really into email, opt-in emails. So when I go on the road, I have an email list. Like that's been really the best way that I grow my audience and I stay in touch with them. And then also Instagram, I would say those two platforms and ways of reaching new people and connecting and staying connected are
Mhm.
the most successful for us. And also just especially Instagram, it's just fun. It's something I enjoy doing.
I love Instagram. I feel like people aren't as mean out there.
Oh, yeah. People on Instagram are so nice. I love Instagram. I actually don't even have like a personal Facebook page anymore. I got rid of mine in like 2012.
Uh-huh.
And anytime I get back on to like because my husband, I have my page linked to his account. I'm always like, gosh, I'm so glad I'm out of this world, because it's just a nasty little place to be.
Yeah, sometimes it is. What have
Yeah.
you been able to do on Instagram to help people find you?
Um, I worked with a PR company for the last project, which Cyber PR,
Oh,
and
yeah.
Molly there told me I was doing hashtags the wrong way. And this
Really?
is something, yeah, this is something that I'd noticed like a pretty slow growth with the use of hashtags. And she said, only use hashtags in your caption if they are ironic or sarcastic.
Really?
But yeah, and then she said, always comment below your caption with the hashtags. And then she says that she told me that if you wait an hour and then you delete it, I forget what she said. I think it was like the metadata or the geotagging or something, some technical term for the internet. It still stays. So if you type in the hashtag, even though you deleted the comment, it's still like tagged. So um, people don't see that you're like hashtagging something to death. They just think, oh, you've got all these organic likes and organic comments.
That's
And
crazy.
yeah, so I do that, and I found like that you get you get really good results with that, which is really really cool. But my other strategy for Instagram is just being completely different than probably 99% of professionals on there. Is just I'm not super manicured in all my posts and photos. It's my life, and I try to mix the good with the bad,
Mhm.
and try to be very like authentic to my journey in my life. That's kind of my motto for any of my social media. So people know my music, but they also know me as a person.
Do you feel like that's given you more of, rather than just like an audience, as opposed to like you're actually growing a community?
Definitely, definitely. I mean, a lot of my super fans have turned into just friends, and
That's cool.
that's the way I like it. Like
Yeah.
I just find there's a lot more meaning in that for me, making music and hearing their reactions and having discussions around songs. Every time I release something, people know like the journey behind it. I'd say a huge majority of my fans and listeners, which is a really unique, special thing that I'm super grateful for. I have a really small, awesome group of fans.
That's cool. Yeah, I feel like it doesn't take many, you know?
No, yep, it's true.
So
I think they
let's
say like 100, 100 super fans and you can have a career.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So let's talk about the last album then. And you recorded that in Nashville. So what was that experience like for you?
Can't Curse the Free was absolutely amazing. And I had written the songs over the span of a couple years. And I had my son, and I had the idea for the project. And then, some time passed, and then I got pregnant with my daughter and had her. And then I had actually scheduled to record the album when she was like 3 months old,
Oh my
which
gosh.
I was very ambitious of me. And I've since talked to like other friends that are in the business, and they're like, yeah, that would have been a horrible record.
Oh God.
I'm I'm like, yeah, that would have been really bad. Anyway, so timing just ended up being, I'd push it back, push it back, push it back, and I just recorded it last August into September, and I almost didn't do it because my dad, he'd gotten this horrible diagnosis, and
Mhm.
I was like, oh, I don't know, like, what should I do? He was getting his second round of chemo, and it was only going to be like a 2 to 3 week thing, so we ended up doing it, and I'm so glad because the songs are so personal, and they've spoken to me and my family and everything that we've gone through and are still going through.
Mhm.
It was so nice to just have it done. But I really love this project. I love the producer that I worked with. Mitch Dane. He's become a great friend, and the players on the album and just the arrangements. The sound is really different for me.
I really dig that sound too.
You,
It just has a good vibe to it.
I love the vibe. Thank you for saying that. I really appreciate it. Yeah, like it's just unique, and it's really cool because I told Mitch, I'm like, I'm Native American. I've always wanted to incorporate some kind of tribal stuff into my music. And so he took that and ran with it and, added tribal drum loops and all kinds of cool stuff. And I've had really good feedback from the album, and definitely feel like it's my best project to date, and very proud of it.
How did you go about picking your producer?
That's a great story. So I'd actually had my eye on Charlie Peacock, who did Civil Wars and John Foreman and a bunch of other people. He's a Nashville producer, and I just thought Nashville for the next project. I was just kind of ready to grow again, and to change. I had recorded all my past projects in Michigan, which I also felt really passionate about, working in my state that I lived in and keeping music alive there. But I was just ready for a change, and I had my sights set on Nashville and went to South by and did a little showcase there. And there was a guy in the audience, two guys in the audience with beards, and they looked kind of like biker dudes. And one of them was we were kind of locking eyes a little bit, and it was like a bar. So, people were kind of into it, but, like this guy and we were just like, I was like, wow, like he is listening to this song, like really listening.
Isn't it shocking when that happens? I mean, it's kind of sad, but
yes. It's like a miracle, right?
Right. Yeah.
You can just tell, like, you're connecting on such a deeper level. So after the set, the promoters come over and they're like, hey, these two producers want to talk with you and meet you. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I walked over, and it was the same guy, and Mitch Dane, he handed me his card, and he's like, hey, I love your sound. You want to get drinks or something? And at this point, I had no idea who he was. So I was like, yeah, I don't know about drinks, but we could maybe do breakfast.
Yeah.
And he was there with Vance Powell, which
oh, nice.
Vance is like, he's got a beard. They just look like hardcore guys. It's just really funny. So get to know Mitch over breakfast and bacon. And after that breakfast, I was like, oh my gosh, he's the one that I'm going to work with.
What was it about him?
Well, we just connected on, I'd say a pretty deep level. I told him about, some hard things in my life, and like we just kind of shared some life stories, like outside of music. Yeah. And I felt really safe, which, making a project with somebody is like a very intimate thing of like, putting your heart out there, and you want it to be safe. You want to be challenged, but you also want to feel like you want to feel safe.
Yeah.
And I just liked his spirit and his vibe. It was just really, really good. And he had actually worked on a few projects that I knew. And that was kind of like the last nail in the coffin for me. Just like, whoa, you did this project. This project got me through such a hard time. It's done.
Wow.
It was super serendipitous. And I always think back like, man, if I hadn't done that and he hadn't been there, like how crazy would that have been? It never would have happened.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's a cool story. It's pretty funny.
I love it. So I saw that you also did a pledge music for it. How was that experience?
That was really great. The people at Pledge were super helpful in setting up the campaign and giving like constant feedback on what has been successful in the past, and what your fans may want, and as far as rewards or perks. And that was really a cool way to pre-sell the album, and also include some really unique things to me and quote unquote my brand that I could give fans. Like I sent a jar of mermaid's tears to somebody in California, which is a beach glass, and I collect like sea or beach glass.
Uh-huh.
And so I was able to like share that with one of my fans along with my music, and it was a really cool platform. And all of the super fans obviously pre-ordered the album, so it was a cool way of giving first glances, and I gave tons of content as far as behind the scenes of the album,
Mm-hmm.
like stories and video in the studio. And I even included scratch tracks, which were, just things that you don't get
Yeah.
anywhere else. So that was a really cool thing.
What was your biggest lesson learned from that experience?
From the Pledge music,
Uh-huh.
um, I guess maybe that people were a little thinking through the Indiegogo. I had a goal to get to, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
I think I had like $10,000. This Pledge Music campaign, I didn't set any goals. I didn't say like, hey, I need this much money or this, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was a big difference in engagement. And I feel like your fans want to know that they're really being a part of something and they need you, like you need them.
Uh-huh.
Uh, because I had way more engagement on the Indiegogo with my fans when they knew, like, okay, we have to help Jetty reach this goal.
Yeah.
And I didn't do that with Pledge Music because I'd already paid for the album and everything was paid for. And we were just kind of like, we don't need to do that kind of model,
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I think your fans like to feel like they're helping and they're a part of it in a bigger way than just like getting something from you. So I would be very curious to do another campaign and see if I set a goal, if I got more engagement. It didn't get as much as the Indiegogo, and I was really surprised.
Was there anything that you used as a reward that you were surprised that, like, oh my gosh, that's the thing that people are really into for this?
It was more of, I was surprised what they weren't into.
Mm-hmm.
With my Indiegogo campaign, I sold like probably, I don't know, 15 cover videos. And I was really excited to include that again in this Pledge Music campaign. I thought, like, these were so popular last time. People
Yeah.
are going to eat them up. I didn't even sell one.
Really?
Yeah. So I have no idea, like, what the difference is. I'm just kind of speculating
Uh-huh.
that it may be the fact that it didn't seem urgent. The call to action was kind of like more like a storefront than like, oh my gosh, I need you to like do this.
Oh, that totally makes sense.
Does it? Okay, because that's kind of
Yeah.
just my theory in my mind of why it didn't have the same results as the other campaign.
Yeah. Well, and you know what's funny too, because I have there's a gal that I interviewed on the podcast a while back, and she's doing I don't remember if she's doing Kickstarter or which platform she's on, but she's like she's updating Facebook daily, and I'm like, "Oh man, I've got to donate to that. I've got to."
Yes.
And and then
Yeah.
you get busy in life and but then I
Yeah.
see it the next day. I'm like, "Oh my gosh, there's only so many days. I need to go
Totally.
do this."
Yes.
So yeah, I think the deadline is huge.
It is, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah. And I didn't promote it like that either. It wasn't like, oh, only this many more days. Partially because I just didn't want the pressure of doing that. Like those campaigns are hard work,
Mhm.
and putting out constant updates and getting people excited and, not that I didn't want to do the work, but I didn't really want to do that specific work and I didn't need to. So
Yeah.
I was like, we were just kind of like, we'll just do it this way. And working with the Pledge Music, they were amazing to work with, but it wasn't the same engagement. So I definitely think if I were to do it again, maybe we would do it a little bit differently. I'm not sure.
That's really interesting. Good stuff
Yeah.
to know.
Okay, good. the the hashtags, the Pledge Music, I love it.
Yeah, that's why we have these conversations.
Yep. Yeah, no, I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts and I learn so much and I love that.
I do too. Like it is just the best I don't know. I don't know how I survived without them before, like how I ever learned anything after I
I
graduated from
know.
college.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, like I was nerding out listening to a history podcast on Paul Revere today, and I'm like, that's fascinating. I had no idea this is how all this stuff went down.
Really? Okay, you have to send that to me because I love history.
Yeah, it's
That sounds
called
really
Ben Franklin's World.
okay. I'm gonna listen to that.
Yeah, it's
Have you
great.
ever listened to Terrible Thanks for Asking?
I haven't, but I think I need to check it out.
Well, if you're depressed, you should listen to it.
Okay. I'll make sure to put a link to that one in the show notes
Yeah,
too.
yeah. It's pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll put links to both of those shows in the show notes because I think they need to be checked out. And what better way to promote listening to podcasts than on an existing
On a
podcast?
podcast. Exactly. Well, isn't that true though? Like, isn't that how you find other podcasts? I always do that. And they'll be like, and listen to this one. And I'm like, okay, I will.
Yeah,
Thank you.
exactly. I love it. I love shining a light on other people that are out in the world doing cool stuff.
Totally.
So what's revving your creative engines right now?
Right now, I just got done writing a project with a side group that I'm a part of called Pen Pals with my pen pal Heath McNeese, who's been in the music industry probably slightly longer than me, but we're both independent artists and we've been doing the grind for a long time.
Hmm.
And we released an EP 2 years ago almost, and it was time for us to release another one. We had a lot of really good feedback from the first one, and it was kind of interesting the way that we worked together. The first project was solely written by Heath,
Hmm.
and I simply came in with vocals and arrangements. This project is way more like 50-50 co-writing, which has been really fun and always a little bit like intimidating to go in to a new project and just kind of, after every big release, it's like, oh my gosh, can I write like any more good songs or great songs? Is
Yeah.
there anything, is there anything left there? Because I've been on the struggle bus with the writing, and I just kept writing bad song after bad song. And then finally we got together, got in a room, started hammering out melodies and ideas. And I was so thankful that it's still there. So that's definitely getting my creative engines going again.
Do you think that made a difference once you guys were both actually in the same physical space?
Definitely. And that's part of the intentionality. Wait, what's the word? Intentionalness.
Uh-huh. Sure, that
It's part
works.
okay, it's part of the intention of like we had blocked out all this time, over my husband's Easter break, so he had some time off of work because he works on the road, and we had this time set apart. So I'd say the main thing was just having like that time that was uninterrupted
Hmm.
solely to focus on music, not like, oh, I'm going to write a song while my kids are taking a nap and, it's probably going to be really bad. It was nice because I had like a couple hours to just, a couple hours a day just to focus on the songwriting. So it definitely made a huge difference. And I'm so excited about the stuff we came up with. It's so fun to have a different outlet that's not like me, that's a different
Right.
project. And
Uh-huh.
sometimes I'm like I could do like 50 side projects. That would be like so much fun. Like have like, be the girl in like 20 different bands. Like
Yeah.
like why not? I never thought I could do that, but it's been really fun.
That's cool. That's cool. So is that out now or when is that coming out?
So that will be out in June. We haven't even recorded anything yet.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, we're gonna record. I think in 2 weeks here, the second week of May, we're gonna be going to Nashville and recording, and then we do a big festival in northern Michigan together. That's kind of how we met. We've done it every year for a long time, and we have a ton of fans there. So we are like, okay, that'll just be the release party and
Oh,
the release
nice.
date. Yeah, so probably the third week of June, and we don't even have a title of the project yet. But yeah, it's Pen Pals, so it should be really, really awesome.
Cool. Well, we will look forward to hearing that. So, where's the best place for people to connect with you and stay up to date with what's going on?
I would definitely say Instagram is the place to be.
All right.
And then I also have a brand new website after having an old website for, I don't know, 7 years. I finally upgraded. So jettyrae.com is like a good hub for finding like me on Spotify and Instagram and iTunes and all of that is there. So that just makes it easy for people. So jettyrae.com.
All right. And we were talking earlier before we started recording that if folks are in Michigan this summer, they may see you around somewhere.
Oh yeah, I'm all over the state. I'll be on Mackinac Island. I'll be in Traverse City. I'll be in Charlevoix, my hometown. There's a big shocker.
Yeah.
I'll be everywhere.
Awesome. I might have to road trip to Michigan.
You should. That would be so awesome. Hey, we could do a show together.
Oh, that would be fun.
Yeah, let me know. We could split the bill. That'd be fun.
Oh my gosh. Oh, summertime goals. Cool. Well, Jetty, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for having me. It was really fun.
Thanks for listening. Now get yourself over to Instagram and connect with Jetty Rae so you can follow her adventures. You can also hear all of her music at jettyrae.com. That is JETTYRAE.com. And I'll have a link to the website in the show notes. If you dig this show, please share it with a friend. I'm not asking for a rating and review in iTunes because that's a pain in the butt. But tell somebody about the show. Shout it from the mountaintops or the Twitter tops, wherever you're hanging out. You can follow my podcasting and musical adventures on Instagram at BrassyBroadGen. Thanks for listening. Now get out in the world and do some good.